Hello, Chase Wilson here from Sterling Management. We're covering cash flow for small businesses. In point number 1, we talked about statistics. We talked about measurements. And I covered if you don't have a way to measure, you're never really going to know, are you making it, are you not making it? The only other thing that I want to cover on that last point on statistics is you have to have something comparable. You have to know what you should be doing. You have to know this is the amount that is expected, and we'll get into viability in a later video, but you got to know what your viability is because the statistic might be going up. It might go from 0 to 1, but you really need 10. All right, so we'll get into that. But point number 2 here, point number 2 is you have to have a demand, you have to have expectations. If you don't say this is what I need, and that comes down to a point we are going to cover in the future, we're going to cover what is that viability level and how do you achieve that. But I'm going to tell you this right here, if you don't have the demand, you're not going to get it. And what does demand mean? Demand means that's what you expect, that's what you're going to go for. And if you look at anything that you've achieved, that's because you demanded it. And anything you have not achieved, you haven't demanded it. Your expectations were lower. You said, you know, that's okay. If you are doing, let's say, $10,000 a month right now, or $100,000 a month, or $1 million a month, whatever you're doing, that is your expectation. And you're saying, that's what I'll do. It's 5 o'clock, I'm going to go home now, and I've met, this is how much I'm going to do. The biggest key when it comes to making more money, increasing the cash flow, is your demand. It is your expectation. And if you as a business owner or you as an employee who might be watching this, if you have that demand and say, this is what I expect, you will make more because you'll push more. You will find ways to make it happen. And we'll get into many different ways of how do you do that, but just know that the reason you make money is because you demand for it, you expect it. And the reason someone else makes more than you is because they expect it. And the reason someone makes less than you is because that's what they can live off of, that's what they're fine with. It is your expectancy. And if you think it's any other source, you're going to fail because you're going to be depending on other things other than your drive. The other thing about your demand is you're in control of it. And if you look at someone who's successful, yes, they failed, yes, they went through things, but they had the demand. How do you create demand? Well, first of all, you have to have accurate expectations. You have to say, this is what we need. I find many people say, man, if I made $100,000 a year, I'd be really happy. They make $100,000 a year, they're not really happy. Why? Because their expectations were inaccurate. Their estimation of effort that it would take to get there is inaccurate. How does that happen? Well, the person didn't actually judge different factors. Well, now I make this, well, taxes take that out, inflation, all these different factors that come in. I will show you in later videos how do you actually correctly estimate what it takes to make your business run. You will not have cash flow. You'll have the opposite. You'll have a bunch of debt if you don't correctly estimate what it's going to take to run your business. All right, so when it comes to expectations, it's got to be for their overall company. Then we break it down, like we talked about in statistics, for the overall business, for each area, for each person. If you don't have that expectation, you're going to be driving and they're going to be watching you. All right, so we're going to determine in this video series of increasing cash flow, we're going to determine what that should be. In later videos, we're going to go over that. I would like to know from you, what do you run into when you demand things from staff or you demand it from yourself? What do you run into? I'd like to know that. Please put that in the comments, and I'd like to see what it is you're running into. All right, that's the conclusion of this video. Next, we're going to cover some other points in regards to cash flow.